I'm attorney Justin Lackey. My phone rings in my office, too.
So does mine. I'm attorney Jennifer Lackey. And when you've been hurt and need help, we're here. We're the ones who take your call.
And get what you deserve.
You want to talk to your lawyer. You don't want to reach a call center. With the Lackey Law Firm, that never happens.
The Lackey Law Firm.
And this is the most important part. We'll treat you like family because that's exactly what we are.
The Lackey Law Firm.
And I'll go you one better. If you can't come to us, we'll come to you.
The Lackey Law Firm. The Lackey Law Family. 1-800-4-RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
There's power in caring when it is put into action. Each year, our bankers serve on nonprofit boards, support our local educators, and volunteer with our hometown food bank. I'm Bobby Humphrey, Vice President of Business Development for Bryan Bank, and community service is just not a line item in our mission statement. It's who we are. Because after all, Alabama is our home too. That kind of commitment to community might not be what you would expect from a bank, but it's exactly what you can expect from us. Give us a call or stop by one of our 2 offices in the Huntsville area and experience unbeatable service and legendary results.
Bryan Bank Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID 2428943, member FDIC.
From the University of Alabama, this is Crimson Tide Today. Its daily update on Bama sports and it's brought to you by CB&S Bank. Bank anywhere, at any time with CB&S Bank's digital solutions. Managing your finances has never been so easy. Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. Alabama improved to 4-0 on the season with a win in the SEC opener against Georgia on Saturday. Here are our post-game thoughts from head coach Kalen DeBoer.
Heck of a game. Lost my voice a little bit there. Obviously, a lot happening there all game long. So a lot of energy that was put out there by coaches and players, and proud of the way, we played. It took 4 quarters. And obviously, there's some times where they made a run there, and the second half in particular. But, just proud of the way our guys kept fighting, kept playing. I think we continued to learn every single play and grow. And you see that at the end with ZB's, interception. Guys saw it a couple times, them throwing the ball up in the air and really just laying it up there, maybe even sometimes underthrowing it.
I'll have more in a moment.
CB&S Bank has a long history of stability and a legacy of serving our community's needs for generations. You could say we know a thing or two about tradition. We've been family, community, and financially strong since we began in 1906. Being a team player is part of our culture. That's why at CB&S Bank, we're proud to sponsor the University of Alabama Athletics and prouder to take the field or court with you. Visit cbsbank.com today. Member FDIC and Equal Housing Lender.
Join us tonight for Crimson Tide Rewind, presented by the Alabama Department of Public Health at 6 p.m. Central at Baumhower's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills. Crimson Tide Rewind is available to listen to across our radio network, the Varsity Network app, and catch the video replay as well on Tuesday on the CTSN YouTube page. Crimson Tide Today is brought to you by CB&S Bank. Crimson Tide Today is a production of the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
And just like that, we are off. We are running. It is another brand new edition of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Scott Theisen, Drew DeArmond. That means it's a Monday, and that means it is time for your the good, the bad, and the ugly from another busy weekend of college football. 256-576-4977. That's the number to the phone lines. You can join us throughout the program this morning as we reflect on a lot of good, the bad, the ugly from a weekend in college football. Now, we do start in Tuscaloosa.
Snap going to Milroe. Looking deep downfield. Looking for Williams. Comes back, makes the catch. Trying to split defenders. Makes them bang into each other. Stays on his feet. Breaks a tackle. Scores. Ryan Williams. One play. 75 yards. 4 + 2 = 6, and Alabama regains the lead. 2 touchdowns in 2 plays from 2 teams. 2:18 still on the clock here in the fourth quarter. It ain't over, but dear Lord in heaven, I feel better than I did 30 seconds ago. Good night. This is month number 1 of the season. Beck looking, firing towards the end zone. That is intercepted. It's picked off. It's picked off. Intercepted. Alabama gets the pick. The interception is made by Brown. Alabama getting Xavier Brown with the interception, and the Crimson Tide takes it away with 43 seconds remaining. Good night. D-Square, how you doing, baby?
Hey, I'm doing great down here. That man thought he was going to pick on the freshman, and the freshman grew up right in front of his face, baby.
You went one too many times to the well, baby. You can't throw that too many times before the young freshman starts learning. He got beat on the first one. He broke up the second one, and now goes up and high points that ball against a taller defender and pulls it down for the interception. We needed one guy to make a play, and he did it.
Elway 14.
I'm a little fired
You
up.
don't need to apologize to anybody. Decaf for you the rest of the night. Xavier Brown, the play of the game. Again, Bama in victory formation. Again, the snap. And will Georgia use the timeout? Nope, they're waving the white flag. The final 30 seconds are going to tick off. And once they do, let's get out of here. Alabama 41, Georgia 34. And in the first meeting of the year, Alabama comes out a winner 9 times out of the last 10.
There you go. Closing seconds, closing minutes from the Crimson Tide Sports Network there. Chris Stewart on the call, and just kind of reliving a little bit of that for those that maybe were at the game and didn't get to hear how it sounded over the airwaves.
Oh, I was at the game, sitting on the 30-yard line behind Alabama's bench. It was the craziest environment I've ever been a part of. When Magic, a.k.a. Ryan Williams, did score that go-ahead touchdown, I've never seen the place go more bonkers. And then as we heard the replay of Xavier Brown's interception in the corner of the end zone, it was pandemonium. Before that play, it was so loud, you couldn't really even hear yourself think. And, wow, what an environment it was inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. What a game. It was really kind of
almost like 3 games in one.
Well, I compared it on the Bama Recap Show presented by Lawler's Barbecue yesterday to 2 games. The beginning,
yes,
and even the first half, because it was 30-7 at halftime, reminded you somewhat of the blackout in Athens in 2008, where Alabama went ahead 31-0. Then Georgia made a run in the second half, ended up being 47-30. But then it was a combination. It reminded me of last year's game in a lot of ways, because Alabama dominated the first half last year. Georgia made a big run in the third quarter into the fourth, and then Alabama took control of the last half of the fourth quarter and ran the clock out. But I'm going to tell you what, man, Georgia came all the way back, outscored Alabama 27-3 at one point. And if you if you count and then that's in the second half, but you could even say 34-5 because of the 2-point conversion. But again, what a run by the Dogs, and they get the lead with 2:31 to go. And then in one play, lightning struck again with the most electric freshman I've ever seen since David Palmer, and maybe ever. I knew the kid was great. I knew he had a chance to be special, but to even exceed expectations is unreal. And the plays he made in that game, the move he had in the first half on a 29-yard catch where he nearly tore the guy's ACL when he juked him out of his jock, and then the body control and just the hands and just everything to make the juggling catch in the second half to set up the field goal. And then, of course, the 2 spin moves that will live in infamy, to make the 2 defenders run into each other, get down the field and score, from 75 yards out. Then they hit the 2-point conversion to Jeremy Bernard. But, I got to give Carson Beck a ton of credit. He really did not play well the first half. And
he had probably his worst first half of his whole career
and
on Saturday.
Some of that was on him, and his receivers also made some mistakes. But I think Alabama had a good plan. But he's a senior, an old guy who gritted his teeth, and they kept firing. And and the dude that I kept saying all week on this show, and that I felt like was an under the radar guy, and boy, he proved it to me on Saturday. He's the next Hines Ward is Dylan Bell. I mean, that guy is a dog.
Yeah.
I mean, he is, Arian Smith made some plays, also made some mistakes though. Colby Young, and of course, there's a lot of guys you can point out. ETN had his moments, of course. But I'll just tell you, no question in my mind, that Dylan Bell is an absolute stud, and Lovett, Dominic Lovett had a nice game, but I just felt like Bell was the guy for them. I was a little surprised that Georgia didn't come out trying to run the ball.
That's what I was going to ask. They came out and threw the ball, and at home, I'm sitting there going, well, that's not what I expected.
It wasn't what I expected
at all. They got away from their identity early on, and when they finally got going for their first score, it was like they settled back down and got doing what Georgia typically does. But early on, I was like, wow, they came out just slinging the ball.
Well, and I thought Alabama did do a good job against the run, but they were, like I said, I guess they watched tape. They felt like Alabama's secondary was vulnerable. They definitely were picking on Xavier Brown a lot of the night.
Now, I will say they could have had one completed early. The receiver did drop it with the second play of the game. I mean, they did drop it. I don't know if that had anything to do with getting off to the slow start after he dropped it, but.
And I will say this, I said it also, that I felt like Georgia was still susceptible to, the big play and the deep ball, and they were. Their secondary was, and no question about it. And the three areas that I felt like Alabama had to win the game, I felt like they had to outrush Georgia. They certainly did that. I thought they did a great job. They won the plus minus. They forced Beck into 4 turnovers. They only turned it over once themselves, and that was a weird one. It was kind of a ricochet when a tight end, I believe it was Oots, tried to turn and go upfield, and the ball was popped up in the air and intercepted.
The ball was kind of thrown behind him a little bit.
But he was trying to turn, and I think maybe the route was a little bit wonky, but still, it ended up turning it, and it cost Alabama points because they were deep in Georgia territory. They might have been able to add, 3 points, 2 points, and even, a pick six was dropped by, that would have been another interception on Beck by Deontay Lawson. But again, I just think overall, and then I thought Alabama had to cut down on the penalties. They didn't do that. They had 10 penalties in the game. But I'll tell you what, the third factor where Alabama won the game was they had Ryan Williams and Georgia didn't. And Ryan Williams is just a special talent. There's no question in my mind. I mean, I know there's some other freshman wide receivers out there getting a lot of hype, but he is the dude.
His 462 yards of receiving so far. That is number one among all freshmen in the country. It's 16th best in the nation right now after 4 games. His 5 touchdowns are tied for most among freshmen in the country. The Ohio State receiver,
Jeremiah Smith
also has 5. Yeah. And so those are the 2 that are tied for the most touchdowns among freshmen. Now, in case you are wondering, Trey Harris from Ole Miss right now leads the nation in receiving with 804 yards, but we saw what happened in Oxford on Saturday. He ain't getting those. Yeah.
Fraud.
Yeah.
FRAUD. Okay. I'll eat some crow on that. I was starting to buy into Ole Miss being a top 4 team in the SEC. I don't think they are. They are a fraud. What have I always said about Wild Turkey? When it mattered most,
but
that's what would happen. And I'll tell you somebody else.
The defense of Ole Miss did not play half bad on Saturday.
Well, and then the other guy that is Jackson Dart. Every time they try to hype this guy up to be some first-rate quarterback, every time it matters, sound like a sheep because he's gagging.
Offensively, Ole Miss could not do a thing. Now, you know what? Georgia had a hard time with that Kentucky defense.
And remember what I said about the Kentucky game? I did say that they would stay in it at least well into the second half. I said they would be in the game in the third quarter because of their defense. I just didn't think they would score enough. But Wild Turkey made Brock Vandegrift look like an NFL prospect. And while the defense didn't play horrendously, they didn't make a stop when they had to. And as usual, Lane Kiffin's offense, when they face somebody decent, gag me with a spoon. Florida, stay away, please. Stay away. I know all you guys are in love with him and you want to hire him. Stay away. It's fool's gold. Let Ole Miss continue to pay the guy and be Ole Miss and go 8-4 and 9-3. Because I'm telling you right now, I think they're going to miss the playoff because they're not good enough. They lost at home to Kentucky. Basketball practice is right around the corner. Kentucky got routed by South Carolina, and they go into Oxford and they win the game because Lane Kiffin told you last week, we've played nobody. Well, there you go, paper champion, because you're not good enough.
256-576-4977.
That's what I get. Put them in the top 4 of the league all year. Now, I dropped them to 6th, and we'll talk about my poll here in a minute, but I had to drop them. But, I mean, I just don't believe in them anymore. I mean, I don't really even know how good Missouri is, but I would take Missouri over them at this point.
Here is Kalen DeBoer after the game on Saturday.
And highlighted Ryan, obviously, with the big play he had in the touchdown. 2 number 2s out there, 2 freshmen. It was fun celebrating those guys in the locker room. Our team, loves the way that they work every day. But, tip of the cap to Georgia. Just they're a heck of a football team. We pushed each other to the very end. So proud. Again, can't say how proud I am of our guys. We talk about you get what you deserve, and these guys come to practice every single day. They're in the weight room. Any opportunity where we're asking and asking them to do something, they're all over it, and they're doing it to an extremely high level. So we expect to win games, these games. And, so of course, the locker room's full of excitement, but I also, want to make sure that we understand that's the expectation. And, there's a lot of season left. And so I want to make sure we don't blow all our energy into this win and make sure we can handle success and get ready for next week.
All right. Kalen DeBoer there after the Georgia win. Mark from Spring Hill is with us this morning. Good morning, Mark.
Hey, good morning, guys. Well, I was 1-2 last week, so I'm not going to be too. I mean, I'm happy that I went 3-0, winners loser, picked Ole Miss to lose, and
that was a good one.
That was a good one. And here's the thing: the Alabama game, and I was in a state championship game as a player at Aniana back in the day, and Maurice Cardiff was the coach, and Perry Swindle's defense coordinator. And we were in a game. We had a big lead, and I was thinking about this the whole second half. We actually lost the game after having a big lead because the other team had to go for it on 4th down. And this is something that's probably not going to be talked about a lot. And you were at the game, Drew, so you know this. But they were the reason I'm not panicking about Alabama's defense and them allowing them to get back in it and take the lead is, in normal situations, they went for it on 4th down on their own side of the field 6 of the 9 times they went for it. All right. And, those are punts in any other situation. And to ask a defense to stay on the field like they did. So not to make excuses for Alabama's defense, but I don't think that we should go push any panic buttons or anything like that. I just think, that's very, very hard to do. So I'm glad that Alabama, if you look at 3rd down, I think they were maybe 2 for 14, Georgia. And so I wanted your thoughts on that stat there, Drew. I know, that's a big stat, and I know it's frustrating to see them get those 4th down conversions, but, I just think that's one thing I thought in the game was key was just couldn't get them off the field on 4th down, not 3rd down.
Look, there's no panic anywhere. Kirby and Mike Bobo made up their minds at halftime. It was 30-7. They didn't know how many possessions they were going to get. They weren't even sure they could slow Alabama down, so they were going to be in 4-down mode the entire game. This is the way I look at it because it kind of amazes you. You got fans complaining about, well, it should have been a blowout or Alabama got conservative. They didn't get conservative. You don't get conservative when you're trying to throw a
halfback pass.
Or you can call it a halfback pass or a wide receiver when you're laddering the football and you're trying to basically set up a wide receiver throw down the field. In other words, they were trying to hit Ryan Williams. It was going to be Kendrick Law to Ryan Williams. They missed a block there, but they were trying to at one time throw a trick play in there, and really they did it 3 times. So when you try to call 3 trick plays, and of course I had people behind me talking about don't get too cute. Look, you got to understand something. You're playing with a head coach who's an offensive-minded guy who's very aggressive, and which I like.
Right.
So you make them prepare for that. You put that on film even for later on. Eventually, you're going to catch somebody in it that's not as good as Georgia, and you're going to be able, or even as good in the playoff, and it's going to work for you. I liked the aggression the entire time. I didn't think he ever lost aggression. I had a guy sending me clips yesterday on Sunday of the second half of, well, Milroe missed this and Milroe missed that, and this guy was open. I give more credit to Georgia and their adjustments.
That's the thing. At halftime, Kirby Smart on TV said Alabama came out and showed them some stuff along the ends, along the outsides that they hadn't seen and that Alabama hadn't run all year.
And we talked about Alabama.
Georgia made some adjustments on
that
that
had not
in the
shown
second
everything.
Half. Yes.
And so it was like a year ago. Georgia made adjustments. And then, again, sometimes you have to credit the opponent. And all I'll say is you're not judged on how many people you blow out. You're judged on the other great teams you play. There's always somebody that you have to look in the eye. That's why I was talking about Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier yesterday. That's what it was about. You're facing somebody that's as good as you are, that can look you in the face, and that's how your competitive greatness comes out. You have to figure things out. It's like Jack Rutledge used to say, former Alabama assistant coach. It's called the gut check. And, it was an unusual game in that Alabama got up 28-0, and then Georgia made their big run, and then Alabama answered. Georgia tried to answer, but Xavier Brown said, no soup for you, and picked the ball off in the end zone. But it was a very competitive football game. It's 2 of the top, I think, 3 teams in the country, just like it was last year, even though Georgia didn't make the playoff, but they should have been in it, as I said. So, again, do I like Kirby Smart? No. Do I respect the hell out of him? Absolutely. He was very complimentary of Alabama after the game. I know something was leaked out of what he said in the locker room. That's the sanctity of the locker room. This wasn't Ed Meathead Ogeron running around in the middle of the field, yelling, screaming, and cussing at everybody and saying we're going to go, piss on the 50-yard line and everything. That guy's a meathead, and there's a reason he's out of coaching. This was a private thing that got leaked, but Kirby was very complimentary of Ryan Williams after the game, very complimentary of Kalen DeBoer. Yep. And, again, this was just 2 heavyweights going at it, and Alabama made 1 or 2 more plays than they did. May see them down the line, but, again, that's how look, the reason Muhammad Ali is considered the greatest, he didn't go undefeated. It's how you bounce back from adversity. Kalen DeBoer is not going to go undefeated, but that was the first chapter right there. And what did I tell everybody? The boogeyman comes back as different people, and he's still in Tuscaloosa. So sorry, Georgia, but he's 1-6.
Let's get a break in. When we come back, we'll hear from Kirby Smart. We also got to switch tension, some of the good, the bad, the ugly, down on the Plains Saturday, Auburn and Oklahoma. We got all that to do. We've only just begun. We've only just begun. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Still got some fog hanging around this morning and still trying to clear some accidents. 31 in Garrett Road in Limestone County. That one had some injury involved. Got one on 72 near Ryland Pike that's got some westbound blockage. Had one on Mooresville Road just off 565. Nobody hurt there, and it looks like they've cleared that fire scene on Blake Bottom north of Stringfield. Are you over 35 and overweight? 7 different hormones can make it impossible for you to lose weight. Find out with a free quiz at 2030huntsville.com. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
From heirloom diamonds to contemporary jewels, Loring & Company is the place to find something truly special. Whether shopping for a diamond ring for that once-in-a-lifetime occasion or marking a milestone birthday or personal achievement with a Rolex watch, you'll find just the thing in our edit of the world's most sought-after brands, including David Yurman, Roberto Coin, Marco Bicego, and Fopay. Expect a treasure trove of the world's most unique, even breathtaking earrings, rings, necklaces, and bracelets, making choosing just one piece a challenge in itself. Loring & Company Jewelers on Airport Road.
Tom Abraham here for my friend Mike Owen at Owen Home Appliance Center. Are those new school clothes wearing out that old washer and dryer? Well, it's time to get off the bus at Owen Home Appliance Center and learn what a new Speed Queen washer can do for you. They're in stock and are ready for delivery now at Owen Home Appliance Center. Quality products, quality pricing, quality service. It's right there in the name, Owen Home Appliance Center. 2 locations to serve you, Highway 36 in Somerville and the interactive location at Highway 231 in Lacey Springs, just 8 miles south of the river.
Embark on a flavorful journey at the Brewers Cooperative, located within the vibrant community hub of Stovehouse in Huntsville. Their brewery isn't just about crafting exceptional beers. It's a destination where culinary delights and local brews harmonize. Whether you're seeking a laid-back lunch or a lively dinner with friends, their diverse menu has something to please every palate. And with a commitment to quality and a passion for innovation, they invite you to savor the unique flavor of Huntsville's craft beer scene at the Brewers Cooperative.
The best in local sports talk from the 256. We are local.
When you're number one, you don't have to worry.
We are award-winning. Thank you for listening. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You'll be set for life.
Welcome back, Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond. You made reference to Kirby Smart. Here is a little bit of what Kirby Smart had to say post-game after the Alabama game.
Yeah, great player. I mean, I got asked by the game day crew before the thing about what are you going to do special for Ryan Williams? And I said, we can't do anything special for Ryan Williams. They got a guy back there at quarterback that could be the best running back in the country, and he throws the ball. So you can't put 2 people on Ryan Williams. You can't do it. You got to make him make throws. And we've known Ryan for a long time. He came to our place on several visits. He's such a great kid. He's extremely fast and elusive. He's got great ball skills. You know, Malachi had really good coverage on him on a double move. He got on top of Malachi. And, you know, if I had to do it over again, we would challenge him more and get up on him. We were off a lot. But the play he made was actually in press coverage there late. And, you know, that's okay to give that up. That's hard. But we caught that ball on them. But you got to tackle them. You got to get them on the ground, make them snap it again. And we had momentum, make them drive it through. But we didn't get him on the ground. And that's the biggest fatal flaw of that play.
There you go. Kirby Smart. You said he was complimentary of Ryan Williams, and he was.
Yeah.
Very complimentary there.
Well, and I mean, again, I got messages, you know, Scott, I was off the grid the entire game. So, you know, one of the running jokes when we got back to the car was me plugging my phone up, and all you could hear is zzz, zzz, zzz,
all night long.
Yeah, pretty much. And so I was just receiving all these messages. And everybody wanted to know, you know, is Drew comatose? Is he okay? Did he have a heart attack? All that. I was actually in my group the calmest person.
Really?
I really was. Like, let me give a shout out to my boy Tyler Watts, the color analyst. He almost broke his headset. Now, I've been in – Bandy can tell you this. I've been up there in broadcast and almost broke headsets and lose my mind, almost blow the headset out. So I truly that's my boy Tyler Watts. I love it. I love the passion. I said that yesterday on my X account. I mean, watching that replay and seeing how excited he got on both the big plays, Ryan Williams and, of course, Zabian Brown was awesome. And then everybody was giving me I didn't listen to the broadcast till after, you know, those highlights, Scott.
Right.
And I didn't know they were calling Damian Squared D Squared. Like, you're not the only D Squared now. And, I mean, I heard my boy D Squared. I just now heard that as you replay it this morning. They didn't get the dump button on him either, but I've been there with him too with the F stuff every now and then when you get excited. But you know, he didn't mute his microphone. But hey, but I'm just saying. I mean, it was a tremendous football game, and you know, I was getting tons of texts and stuff of that nature. And you know, I all I can say is that my reactions to both of those, the tip ball and to when Ryan Williams scored what ended up being the winning touchdown, was just all I could say was wow. I've just never seen anything like that. he makes your hair stand up on the back of your neck. You know, when he touches the ball, I'm telling you, as I posted once I finally got back on the grid, he's a combination of the Slim Reaper, aka Devontae Smith, and David Palmer. The thing with, I've never seen anybody since David who has the lateral quickness that he does in the body control and the hands. But the thing is, he's bigger than David and faster. And David was so electric, but this kid's the same way. And of course, everybody, they get tired of hearing that he's 17 years old. Well, he is. He's 17 years old making those kind of plays. And the thing that I really admired, and everybody knows that at the start of last year, I wasn't on the Milroe train. Well, I have been completely on it since early last year. Right. And he proved that he's better than Carson Beck. He's outplayed him twice. He's definitely up there in the top 2 or 3 for the Heisman. You can ad nauseum. You can always make arguments for others, but he's up there. It was the first 300-yard passing game of his career. He still rushed for over 100 yards. Was it perfect? No, but here's the way I take that, man. When people start saying, well, Milroe missed this in the second half, missed that, the defense did this, the defense did that, this team can still get better. That's the thing you should be excited about. Right. But you should be excited by the progress that they're making, and especially Milroe, who Nick Sheridan and Kalen DeBoer have done such a great job with him. He's getting so comfortable. I mean, that was cold-blooded, what he and Ryan Williams did when Georgia took the lead. Everybody, you always wonder, how are you going to react? You've been leading the whole game. Georgia just finally taking the lead with 2:31 to go. Well, guess what? 13 seconds. And then you get the lead back. And then the defense made a play, another true freshman. So you just got to give Alabama a ton of credit. I give Georgia credit for coming back and punching. And again, I just think it was a tight. It's like we said all week long. It was going to go down to the last part of the fourth quarter again. Going to go down to the last minute, because that's the way these games go, because they are absolutely two heavyweights, and I still think they're the best two teams in the SEC. Ole Miss, they proved what they were. They're a fraud, and I still don't know how good Tennessee is. We're going to see down the stretch, but they're going to have to really open my eyes to beat Alabama or Georgia.
People just need to give Ryan Williams and let him go about his. They're making a big deal about his eye black message that he had on there.
Look, man,
and it said kill everybody. And a lot of people are like, well, if you haven't watched the program.
Exactly.
Then
I made reference to that.
Yeah.
Alvin Mack. If you have not. Now, look, he wasn't even close to being born. That movie came out 14 years before he was ever born. Right. But my boy B. Rich that's listening, anybody that grew up in my era, you know who Alvin Mack is.
Yes.
Okay? Hit the tight end so hard his girlfriend dies. Okay? That's what the coach is like, what do you do in this formation? He's like, and then the last thing he said was, okay, what do you do here? He goes, kill everybody. And then in the defensive huddle, he tells everybody, kill them all, let the ambulance sort them out.
Yes.
It's a metaphor. It's not some liberal idiot woman in Georgia sitting there saying that he's a classless jerk. Look, you don't even know the kid. And how many Georgia football players have been arrested for DUI and driving under the influence? And did 2 Georgia players drag race and a couple people lost their lives? Yes, but we're not mentioning that. We can mention it now. If you want to throw shade at Ryan Williams, you're overstating things. It was a great football game between 2 great teams. Stop trying to find fault with people, and just congratulate some gladiators for going at it in the middle of the ring, who might meet again later on down the line.
All right. Let's get a break in. When we come back, we'll go back to the phone lines. 256-576-4977. It's Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Got a couple of wrecks on 72 now. Got one westbound at Ryland Pike. It's a no injury. Got one westbound at Moore's Mill that is reporting injury. Had 3 vehicles involved in a wreck in Limestone County, 31 in Garrett Road. That one did have some injury reported. That one on Mooresville Road, just off 565, should be clear now. And lots of fog this morning. Be careful, especially if you got a long way to go. Need help with a temp project or maybe finding a new employee? Snelling can help. They also do background checks, computer assessment, and payroll. Huntsville.snelling.com. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
From opening night to Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, don't miss a second of the NFL this season. Hi, this is Kurt Warner of Westwood One. Join our crew each week for the best in primetime NFL action. Monday night, Sunday night, and Thursday night football, plus marquee games on Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Christmas, and more. Westwood One is the exclusive radio home for every primetime and postseason game. It's right here.
Right here on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
At Mr. Sparky, we're America's on-time electrician. Flickering lights and hot switches can be annoying, but they can also signal a major problem, or worse, an electrical emergency. So play it safe and leave it to the experts at Mr. Sparky. Trust our team of professional, clean, and friendly electricians. We'll get it done right and get it done safely.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8-SPARKY.
Independently owned and operated, licensed in the respective state or county.
Flying nonstop from Huntsville is a breeze on Breeze Airways. They're nice people flying nice people to nice places on really nice planes. Let's be direct. Nonstop from Huntsville to the places you want to go. Las Vegas, Orlando, or Tampa starting at $49. It's time for a weekend getaway or a long overdue week away. Time to check in using the convenient Breeze app and check out. What are you waiting for? Book today at flybreeze.com. That's flybreeze.com. Breeze Airways. Seriously nice.
Listen to the Bama Recap Show, presented by Lawler's Barbecue.
The tackle. Williams, 2 catches, 2 touchdowns, 2 electric. Early
on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
256-576-4977. You can be a part of the program.
Scott, I've got to ask you one question.
Yeah.
Because I know you know a lot of people. You've been a lot of places. Do you know anybody who's ever tipped $500 after buying a cup of coffee?
Kid Rock did. Look, I watched the video and it didn't even look like he bought the coffee. It looked like he just walked up to the concession stand and just handed the people the money and said,
"Well, I heard him say
$500. Split it amongst all of you."
Maybe they were talking to another customer. They said, "Would you like cream and sugar?" And then, and of course, Kid Rock had a cigar in his mouth, and he just goes, he pulls out this big wad out of his pocket and says, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is for everybody working. And then he just walks off.
I'm like, wow. Yeah, he just gave him $500. Impressive. All right, phone lines are filling up. Let's get out to them. Brandon is with us this morning. Good morning, Brandon.
Morning, Brandon.
All right, good, bad, and ugly. I don't know if there's enough categories today. The good is Ryan Williams.
Yeah, and Alabama as a whole, that football game. Yeah, that's the good. I completely agree.
He literally jumped backwards to catch an underthrown ball in midair, clapped them 2 DBs together like erasers after class, and then played Ring Around the Roses with them and ran into the end zone. I've never seen anybody do anything like that, never even heard of anybody doing anything like that. And I hope he's got more to come. I hope this is the first hit on the top 10 list for him. The bad was I felt like in the second half we took our foot off the gas and Milroe did not take the easy stuff, and we didn't adjust to what Georgia did, and we could have. I think we could have been more effective. The ugly, and I want to apologize to this lady. James Sean's wife sat next to me and him. They bought my tickets. I sold them to him instead of selling them to some Georgia fans. And the section we were in was rank with awful Georgia fans. His wife got beer thrown on her multiple times. These people acted a fool. They acted like they wanted to fight until we decided we wanted to fight, and then they didn't want to. There was a very large black guy there that played defensive line in the 80s that said, the next beer that's going to get thrown is going to get followed by bodies getting thrown. It was some of those fans thought they were going to wipe the floor with us. They were running their mouth, and I just didn't want to get kicked out of a ball game where it was that intense of a ball game. But some of these Georgia fans need to learn how to be better fans when you come to a stadium. Every time your team makes a mistake or does something wrong, throwing beers from row 25 down into the lower section and soaking everybody below you is not a way to act. And it was going on a lot up there in SS12, SS10, and SS11. You could just see them flying all over the place. How Shane Sean didn't just start ripping people's throats out, I'll never know. And after the game, we walked down to 16th Street down by the railroad tracks. And I don't know who those ladies were that I was dancing with out in the street. We were dancing to the Hank Williams Jr. version of Sitting at the Bar by Rehab. But that was the most fun I've had after a ball game I think I've ever had in my entire life. My son said he was embarrassed of me and went and hid in the car, but I don't give a crap what he says. There was a dance party out there at 16th Street at the railroad tracks under the bridge, and we enjoyed ourselves.
Well, it was a great football game. It's probably the best that I've attended, at least as as a fan. Probably in the media would be 2021 SEC championship game where Alabama was also an underdog. But as far as the environment, how electric it was, it certainly lived up to the hype. No question about that. It was two great football teams. I definitely think that was the good from the weekend for me is watching those two teams. I'm complimenting Georgia too, going head to head, living up to the hype, and being a heavyweight championship fight. The bad for me was just Ole Miss. I mean, that's just horrendous. If you're supposed to be some playoff team or championship contender, you don't lose on the road to a Kentucky team that doesn't have that good an offense. Really good defense. Kentucky's got a top 4 or 5 defense in the SEC, no doubt. But you don't lose that game at home with what's at stake for you. And then the ugly, Scott and I have talked about it a little bit, but Auburn, you almost have 500 yards of offense. Peyton Thorne, until that horrendous mistake in the fourth quarter, is probably playing his best game at Auburn. You've been able to run the football. You had a good plan. Your defense played pretty well. And then, except for 2 big plays, and you're up 21-10 with 11, 12 minutes on the clock, and you get outscored 17-0 the rest of the football game. You throw a pick six, you give up sacks late, you don't run the football, and then you get totally outcoached and lose a football game to an Oklahoma team that still didn't have 300 yards of offense. And it's just, Auburn dominated all the statistics but lost the game, and that was just a horrendous loss for the Tigers.
I'm sorry. I took joy in watching Kentucky beat Ole Miss, and I laughed real hard.
It's Mark Stoops' biggest win of his career, man. They were 1-34 against top 10 teams in the AP before that. It was huge. I mean, absolutely gargantuan. What a win for Kentucky.
Could you imagine what job he would have next year if he had beat Georgia 2 weeks ago and then won Saturday?
He should still get credit for pushing them to the brink, especially if they continue to win and can at least make a backdoor run at the playoff. I don't think they're going to get there because, again, they're probably going to lose another game or two. But if he can still get them to a nice bowl and rally the troops after that putrid performance against South Carolina, says a ton about him. He's done a great job there. He's a really good fit at Kentucky. And again, kudos to him. He should be coach of the week, even over Kalen DeBoer, for beating that Ole Miss team that, spent all that NIL money. And by the way,
over 600 yards of offense a game. And
let me call out the other ugly, okay, here. And Lane Kiffin's full of it, okay?
Right.
Stop with the fake injuries, okay? You guys sitting there faking injuries every time.
Yeah.
You call everybody else out for doing it, but you're sitting there faking injuries like crazy. It's completely Bush League, and you got what you deserved. You deserve to get your ass kicked, and I'm glad you did, because all you guys were doing is faking injuries left and right because you're Bush League, your program's Bush League. I mean, that's crazy. Stop faking injuries. I totally agree with Brooks Austin. I watched his film breakdown, and he goes over the entire league. What you ought to do for faking an injury is you should have to take a whole series off. Then that would stop faking the injuries, because then guys couldn't come back in the game. Stop faking injuries. It's absolutely, you don't have to. You're a really good football team. You got talent. They can still have a great year at Ole Miss, but I thought that was Bush League.
All right, Brandon, thanks for the phone call. That was Kentucky's highest ranked road win since 1977.
And they hadn't won in Oxford since 78.
Yeah.
So
let's go to Jerry real fast. Good
Who
morning,
knows?
Jerry.
Hey guys, how are y'all this morning?
Good, Jerry. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. A couple things on the Bama game first, and I got one comment on Hugh Freeze. I've been really impressed with Milroe's growth with the underneath stuff.
Yeah, he was really good at it in that game. I agree with you, Jerry. I mean, that's the thing we were talking about last week, the short intermediate. Everybody kept asking about that. I thought he was really sharp, and I thought he showed a lot of growth there. And before you finish your thought, I just want to say, I know Brandon said he thought Alabama took their foot off. I disagree with that. I just feel like Georgia, they did a better job stopping the run and taking Milroe's run away. But another reason why Alabama couldn't do anything in the third quarter, they couldn't get off the field defensively, because while they did a good job on third downs, Georgia was nails on fourth down and kept making plays and kept sustaining drives and scoring points. So you have to get the ball back at times. And then I thought a big turn in the second half when Alabama's defense finally did get off the field and force a turnover. Alabama was not able to score points there as Georgia turned them away.
Right. I didn't think they took it off either. I mean, we were getting on the edge in the first half, and Kirby and them made the adjustments. We weren't getting there in the second half, and we were still throwing the ball. But it was like I say, they just made adjustments. I didn't think we took our foot off the gas. Georgia's just a good team. You can't, anybody says they're not is stupid. They're going to make a run. You knew they were. I kept telling my wife when it was 28-7. I was worried right before the half that Georgia would score, then score to start the second. I said, this game's far from over. Georgia's a couple of drives away from it being a game, but we didn't take the foot off the gas. Georgia just made adjustments. But one other thing on the Bama game, was that not the same crew that was in Knoxville 2 years ago? Is that not the head referee from Knoxville 2 years ago?
I'd have to check that. Yeah. The head referee was a guy named, I think it was a Cajun name, Gautreaux, something like that. I will say this: I thought the officiating Saturday was pretty good, even though there was a lot of flags. They missed some interference penalties, but for the most part, I thought it was good.
Oh yeah, that crew though. I'm just telling you, it's either that crew or the one that called the Auburn-Oklahoma game. It was one of those crews. I can't remember the head official, but I'm 90% sure it was the Knoxville crew in Tuscaloosa Saturday night. But I may be wrong.
Daniel,
there were some.
Yeah,
Gautreaux.
Yeah, it was the head. It was the white hat Saturday.
There was definitely a lot of penalties on both sides Saturday night. But the worst call that was the blatant was the interference. I mean, how do you miss that call? The one against Georgia when they mugged us on the third down play.
Oh, yeah. At the end of the half, at the 30, that should have been a first down, which should have given Alabama a chance to score again at the end of the half. That was a completely blatant missed call. There's no question about it.
Yep. One last thing, and I'll get off. And I've said it, and I think I told you last week, Hugh Freeze proved to me that he's living his life off of 2 fluke wins against Saban. You don't put the quarterback in that position. You got a running back that's one of the best in the country, and he just reeled off 20-something a couple plays ago. Then you throw twice. I mean, Hugh Freeze is just Hugh Freeze. He's Lane Kiffin 2.0. I'm telling you, he's going to make stupid, boneheaded calls and play decisions in every game. You watch it. He loses games like that all the time. That's his career.
Yeah, and Jerry, before you hang up, I did get word just now via text. It was not the same officiating crew.
Okay.
Scott Campbell, I think Scott Campbell was the head referee there in 22 in Knoxville. Yeah, it was not the same crew.
No.
Is it the crew that was at Auburn? Is it the one that was at Auburn Saturday? Was that the crew? It was one of those two crews, and they're both horrible.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that one.
Officiating is horrible.
I'll look that one up and find out. Yeah.
Thank you, Jerry.
Okay, guys. Y'all have a great day.
Let's get to Justin real fast. Good morning, Justin.
Morning, Justin.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good, sir. How are you?
Yeah. Well, the good is Alabama and Georgia.
Yeah, I agree. Completely.
It's the good.
Yes,
I mean, I'm going to tell you this, and I'll tell you this right now. Georgia will beat Texas, and the reason Georgia will beat Texas, we all know this. Kirby Smart has always struggled on defense, even when he's in Alabama. The thing that's always hurt Kirby is we all know has been the deep vertical passing game, but it's that mobile quarterback that kind of sets that whole thing off. And it was that way when he was in Alabama. And that's one thing that Texas, I mean, I know Ewers and Arch can run a little bit, whoever plays that ball game, But when you go back and watch any game when he was a coordinator at Alabama or at Georgia, a mobile quarterback has always been the thing that just kind of sets that off. And when you have both, Georgia gives up points, and we did when he was at Alabama. So you remember I said this: Georgia beats Texas by at least 10 points when they play them.
Well, and I just say this: we just got more confirmation that. And this is to the listeners. It was the crew in Auburn for Oklahoma was the one that was in the Alabama-Tennessee game in 22. So that's that's who was officiating that game, no doubt about it. So again, so Jerry he thought it was one of those two crews. It was the one that was in Auburn that butchered the Alabama-Tennessee game.
Well, I bet you they're not the crew when they play Tennessee. When Alabama plays Tennessee, I agree. Alabama will put some kind of strike on that because you're allowed to do that. You can strike officially. But anyway, on the bad's obviously Ole Miss, but the ugly is, of course, Hugh Freeze. And here's a stat that a lot of people may or may not know this. Prior to 2015, I believe Hugh Freeze was 20-19 against Power 5, Power 4 opponents. But since he got in trouble for cheating, 2016 on, he is now 9-24.
Yeah,
against Power 5 schools. So, and my son, who's a diehard Auburn fan, we watched that ball game. I failed as a parent, by the way. He's a diehard Auburn fan. I don't know why, but I sat there and told him, I said, son, they won't even allow you to root for them. I said, they're up 21-10. They just get a sack. They get a 20-yard gain on first down, and then they call 2 RPO plays, and he throws 2 straight incomplete passes. And my son said, well, that's a bad read by the quarterback. I said, no, it's a bad job of coaching. You don't even allow him to think he has the opportunity to throw the ball there. You run the football.
Yeah, I agree.
You run the football.
Yeah,
you don't.
Yeah. Because I mean, because again, Jarquez Hunter was having a good game. You run the football to continue to control the clock. Hugh Freeze is almost, and of course he claimed that he was trying to tell Peyton Thorne, and it looked like he was, to run the football. But I mean, you have that in-helmet communication now. You make that abundantly clear. You don't
run.
Exactly. You do not say, okay, it's up to you to read it on the RPO. No, coach, you tell him to run the football.
Run.
I mean,
You call
come on.
dive right or dive left. You don't call RPO right or RPO left. You call dive right.
Yeah,
dive
I mean,
left.
it's just not good at all.
Thanks for the phone call there.
Thank you.
Yeah, Auburn, by the way, still searching for the program's first win over a ranked opponent since October of 2021. They've not beaten a ranked opponent since then.
Well, they'll get a chance this weekend.
Let's get a break in. When we come back, more phone calls. Plus, we'll try to slip in some Hugh Freeze. 256-576-4977.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Got a couple of wrecks on 72 now. Got one westbound at Ryland Pike. It's a no injury. Got one westbound at Moore's Mill that is reporting injury. Had 3 vehicles involved in a wreck in Limestone County, 31 in Garrett Road. That one did have some injury reported. That one on Mooresville Road just off 565 should be clear now. And lots of fog this morning. Be careful, especially if you got a long way to go. Need help with a temp project or maybe finding a new employee? Snelling can help. They also do background checks, computer assessment, and payroll. Huntsville.snelling.com. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
The company is Eagle Masonry and Insulation, but did you know they're also Eagle Landscaping and Dirt Work? Eagle can take care of all your landscaping needs, including irrigation, sod work, and planting, both plants and trees. On the dirt work side, Eagle can grade and build your pads, haul dirt in or out, and even do erosion control. Philip Love and his team can do it all for you. The website is the same, insulatewitheagle.com, as is the phone number, 256-755-1556. Give them a call and see what Eagle can do for you. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money.
When you call most roofing companies, all you'll hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming. At Fleming Roofing and Restoration, we're focused on your needs, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement. Folks around here have trusted Fleming since 1965 for all their residential and commercial roofing needs. And as the area's storm damage experts, Fleming knows all the ins and outs of the insurance claims process. Log on FlemingHSV.com to schedule your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Tom Luganbill here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
Welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond. Let's get out to the phone lines real fast. Jeff from the Borough is with us. Good
Congrats,
morning,
Jeff.
Don't congratulate me. I didn't play, but I did watch the game. They played pretty good. Got a few breaks. Didn't get some, but like I said, when you don't have tradition, you don't get them. When you do, you do. So that's all I'm gonna say about that. The opening kickoff should have been theirs going in from the 20. Why we review everything? I'm so sick and tired of replay. I told you all, if I ruled sports, there would be no replay at all. There is no need to replay the touchdown catch before the half. It was a touchdown. No need to do so. They continue to constantly study and worry and wonder on replays. We got some breaks. We got the fumble in the end zone, and like Steve said after the game, he went to Coach up to Coach White before they tried the field goal. He said, Coach, we need a break. We need a block or a miss, and they got the miss. So they got what they needed, and they play well. No, again, nobody believes we'll do anything in life. Nobody believes we have any talent at all. And now Stoops is praised instead of bashed and beat for punting. True, Scott? Is he praised for it? Is he praised, huh? Is he praised for going for on 4th and 7 for his own 20? Because he was bashed for not going for it on 4th and 88 from his own 12 against Georgia. True or false?
I was more bashing, and not really bashing. I was more questioning because they had the ball just passed around midfield, and I felt like they weren't aggressive enough. That was my point.
The national media and people in the fan base bashed him. They said he should have went for it. And like I called the show in Lexington on Sunday, and I listened to some of it, and I told them I'm about up to here with our fan base. I'm up to here with it. I mean, we win one of the biggest games, and they're still questioning the man. Okay, this man's done everything for Kentucky football. Like a guy told me this last week, he's probably the best coach since Bear Bryant. I don't know if he is or not, but that's what people.
He is new, certainly statistically.
I don't know about all that. That you can do what you want to, but he's done so much for our program, and people question what he does, calls, and everything else. Okay, let the man coach the team. Leave him alone. It's simple as that.
Well, I'm just going to say that's expectations, though.
He's not on the hot seat.
The thing he's not. I don't think it's questioning him and putting him on the hot seat. I'm just saying that a lot of people think, and Kentucky fans think Kentucky has taken the next step forward in football. And with that, you are going to get questions about it.
Well, you don't need to be questioned. He's done everything. He's our all-time winningest coach.
But they want more. I think there's Kentucky fans that want
Jeff,
more.
let me ask you a question. Did Les Miles get fired after being the winningest coach in LSU history? It's a yes or no question.
He probably did, but I mean, at Auburn deserves what they get right now if they fire Miles on. That's what they're deserving.
Well,
how did he do against Coach Prime Saturday, Jeff?
Coach,
at home.
Simple as that. I mean, that's just my opinion. But I'm saying I'm not going to when he makes a move for them. I'm not going to question like guys said on Sunday. Are they going to question Pope too when he does basketball? Of course, they're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, they're going to question.
Anyway. That's just the way it is.
Jeff, thanks for the phone
Jeff.
call. Let's go to Sean real fast.
What's up, Sean?
Hey, good morning, guys. Sorry, voice is still about gone from Saturday.
Well, I'm glad you and your wife had a good time. I hated that you were around some Georgia clowns, but it stinks that they didn't handle themselves with more class because their team played great. But again, that happens. I've been there and I've been where you guys were, and I hate it.
Brandon said that he don't know how I didn't. I trust me, I tried. I was going to, but I was gonna whip that dude's butt bad. mean, things stopped me, and I'm glad it did because I did not want to get kicked out of it. I got to witness the greatest game. I couldn't be happier. I mean, everything was perfect. If, as Hank Williams Jr. song says, if heaven ain't a lot like if heaven ain't a lot like that ball game, I don't want to go.
It was a great game.
It was amazing. Yes, not just my wife, a little young lady sitting down below us. She got beer spilled on her twice from the dude sitting right next to us that spilled it on my wife. And yeah, we had words. It was over, but there was nothing going to ruin that night for me. I'm telling you, that was great. And Jeff, I mean, he won't let you tell. He won't. Your opinions, our opinions don't matter. It's all him. We have as much right to criticize anybody we want, just like you do. You say you don't give a damn what anybody else says. Well, ain't none of us give a damn what you say. So shut up. We have as much talk as you do. All they've done was praise Kentucky, and you turn it around. They said nothing bad about Stoops. They've said nothing bad about Kentucky. And you call and act like a buffoon. Stop.
Just enjoy it. Enjoy the win. Enjoy the success. And Coach Stoops got it done. And I think he learned a valuable lesson. He put it in the hands of his quarterback and his receiver. And you got to let him go out and try to make a play. And it was a 4th down play, 4th and long. And Berrien Brown made a play, man. I've seen the kid play in high school. He's a great talent. And he came through, and Kentucky got a huge, huge win, man. I give him all the credit in the world, man. I didn't see it coming.
But I didn't have much. I mean, I had no second thought. I knew we was going to have a good to great offense. I had no doubt about that. And yes, there's still stuff to work on. We could be a lot better.
Yep.
But I don't care about the second half. I'm with you, Drew. Georgia made the adjustment to us. Our defense, I couldn't be more thrilled with our defense, man.
Yep.
They're fun to watch. They're flying around, having fun, more physical than the last 2 to 3 years of Saban's defense to me. I'm tickled to death with this defense, and I couldn't be happier.
Thanks for the phone call.
Thank you, sir. Glad you had a safe journey home.
Got to get that hour break in when we come back. Boy, I knew it would be a busy Monday. Jake Crane going to join us. Woo! What's Jake going to say?
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Check out VSiN's catalog of original podcasts, daily and weekly programming to keep you in the know when you're on the go. Only at VSIN.com. Now, here are the latest lines from my guys in the desert.
The Mets, Diamondbacks, and Braves are all battling for 2 wild card spots in the National League. The Braves and Mets are scheduled to play a doubleheader today. The Mets were supposed to play 3 games in Atlanta last Tuesday through Thursday, but Hurricane Helene caused the Wednesday and Thursday games to be postponed. Both the Mets and Braves will clinch wild card spots if they split or sweep the doubleheader. The Diamondbacks will be rooting for a sweep. That's their only way into the postseason. In the first game is Tyler McGill facing Spencer Schwellenbach, New York plus 130, the Braves minus 155. No odds on the second game. Luis Severino starts for the Mets against Chris Sale. That's the VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. I'm Chuck Sanders.
WCZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
SportsMed is the official team physicians of the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And if the pros trust SportsMed, you can too. SportsMed provides every service you might need for complete orthopedic care, specializing in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, joint replacement, spine surgery, neurosurgery, and podiatry. And they offer their own brace shop, in-house full-body MRI, physical therapy, walk-in clinic, and so much more. 4 locations and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com.
This hour brought to you by SportsMed Orthopedic and Spine Center. Online at sportsmedalabama.com. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
It is hour 2 Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond, Sportsman Orthopedic Surgery and Spine Center. Dedicated to providing care, improving lives, helping us kick off hour number 2. 256-881-5151 to get a hold of our fine folks over at Sportsman. Now, we've done our good, the bad, the ugly from the weekend of college football, and we centered a lot of the good around everything that happened in Tuscaloosa. There was some good, there was some bad, and there was some ugly with everything that happened down on the plains as well.
There was. We're going to talk about that and in college football from the weekend. He joins us on a weekly basis. We always appreciate his time. I'm sure he's like myself and everyone else in the media recovering from a long weekend of college and NFL football. He is a co-host of Crane and Company via the Real Daily Wire, and that will be from 2 to 3:30 this afternoon on YouTube. But Jake Crane is joining us this morning to talk it all out. Jake, hope you had a great weekend of football. Welcome back to Huntsville. You're with Drew and Scott.
Oh yeah, man, it was fantastic. I'm just trying to get my voice back from that 5-hour live stream that we did for Ministry for the Bama Georgia game. But no, just another great weekend of football, man. And it's only going to get crazier here over the next couple weeks, including the weekend of October 12th, which is going to be just pure insanity.
It will be.
Oh, yeah.
And again, we didn't get a chance to watch your live stream, but you, of course, I know you were watching the Auburn game as it was playing into wrapping up before the Titanic battle in Tuscaloosa. Inexplicable is all I can say. I thought Auburn had the game when it was 21-10. They were playing well. I'd been trying to follow it as much as I could with watching it on my phone. I was quite frankly stunned at what happened in the fourth quarter.
Well, there just seems to be for, the last, God, it seems like 4 years now, even going back to when Harsin was there, a sickness within the football program that every opportunity that they get, they choke it away in some different form, shape, or fashion. Whether that's Peyton Thorne playing good for most of the game and then making a catastrophic mistake, or making catastrophic mistakes throughout the game, or the defense not being able to do simple things. Learning how to win is the real thing. It's just at what point do you learn that? And for most of that game, outside of the first possession for each team, Auburn was the better team and did the little things right on offense and defense, but special teams cost them. Obviously, the Towns Magoo kid, can we get McPherson some Tums or some Pepto or something? This kid's not even close. I know you're a freshman, and I get it, but, you got to make 27-yard field goals, man. It just seems like, the Murphy's Law of whatever can go wrong will go wrong. Those that are calling for Hugh Freeze to be fired, I don't agree with that. But there should be concern over it's one thing to be under-personneled, but Auburn is doing things from a time management standpoint, from a play calling standpoint, that, you almost got to be perfect, when you don't have the best personnel. And it's just, man, it's shocking.
Yeah. And the thing is and Alex McPherson, I thought he took kicks during the warmups. I thought he was cleared to kick on Saturday. And that's why I thought they would actually go to him instead of Chance, even after he missed the first field goal. I thought, well, maybe they'll go to Alex in the second one, and they didn't.
Yeah, look, it's and again, there's not just one or two things that cost Auburn the Oklahoma game, but if you do the math, you can't go out there and not get points when you're supposed to get points, and then obviously give them a pick six at the end of the game, which that was catastrophic. It's just. The one that gets me the most, guys, is, Auburn's got the ball with like 10 minutes to go in the game, 8 minutes to go in the game, something like that. And Hugh Freeze calls a couple RPOs. And Peyton Thorne, after that big Jarquez Hunter run, pulls it and throws it for 2 incompletions. And after the game, Hugh Freeze is like, well, I shouldn't put him in that position. The fact that a fifth-year senior quarterback doesn't have the awareness of where the game is, and that, hey, I should probably either just hand this off or keep it and run it myself, just goes to show you, man, I don't think you can put Peyton Thorne back out there. I don't think you can do it. I don't understand how, if he ever tries to tell anybody what to do in practice, if I'm another player, how I can take you serious. Dude, you blow it every single time. You're going to tell me what to do? I'm just, at this point, and again, I don't have any personal animus toward him. I'm sure he's a good guy, and he wants to be a leader and all this. But part of being a captain, part of being a leader, is making plays on the field. Not every time, but you got to be accountable on the field, and that's knowing the down and distance and situation and then making big plays. I mean, the guy's the choke artist. He can't be your captain.
What about the play there in the first half? Auburn gets the ball on the goal line. Hugh Freeze brings in Jackson to run a wildcat formation. Doesn't have Thorne, doesn't have Jacquez Hunter in the backfield. Are you okay with that one?
Well, I'm okay with trying it once. I just don't understand why Jacquez Hunter doesn't get more touches.
Right.
I mean, it's the guy, he breaks 1 to 2 tackles every time he gets the ball. He's turning 3-yard runs into 6-yard runs. And he's a guy that if he got hit where Sam Jackson got hit, he's probably rolling his hips forward and being able to score the touchdown. And that's as good as a turnover, guys. A turnover on downs is like, fumbling it at the line of scrimmage. So I don't mind putting Sam Jackson in there for one play. But if you're going to go wildcat after that, let Jarquez do it, or let Peyton Thorne keep it so you can truly get a hat on a hat.
Well, and we're talking to Jake Crane, Crane and Company, via the Real Daily Wire. Jake, my last question about the Oklahoma-Auburn game. With Hugh Freeze in this RPO offense, is he giving the quarterbacks too much leeway? You also have the communication in the helmet until 15 seconds are left on the play clock. But I know you mentioned he said, I should have been adamant. And it looked like he was trying to be on the sideline. You need to run the football. But is he giving the quarterback too much leeway with this RPO offense in your mind?
Well, you would hope, again, that a guy that's a fifth-year senior quarterback could understand, like, you wouldn't have to spoon feed him or put training wheels on him. And that's what you have to do with Peyton Thorne. He's a panicker.
Yeah.
But, taking away what the RPO does, and I know, again, this isn't some, great finding, but it puts the defense in conflict on 3 different spots. So, having the ability to pull it and throw it, or pull it and run it, or hand it off is, kind of the main weapon that you have going against these defenses, and you're under personneled at some points, and you need that element of surprise. So it's sad that we're to this point. Now, if he was a freshman quarterback, or like Hank Brown, who hadn't got a lot of playing time as a redshirt freshman or a redshirt sophomore, okay, maybe you need to tell him, hey, you probably want to give it here when you talk to him in the helmet. But the fact, again, that you have a fifth-year senior that you're having to treat like a baby. He's like the 45-year-old that lives at home with mom and just wants pizza rolls and is afraid of girls. Like, at some point, you gotta let him spread his wings and see what can happen. But now, I don't know. It's so tough, because if you put a backup in now, if Walker White goes in now, his first game is going to be at a pissed-off Georgia, which isn't a great formula. It's sad we're at this point because you didn't go get a quarterback out of the portal.
Right. That's what we've been saying. And now you just mentioned it, the schedule, they're not at home for a month, and now you get a pissed-off Georgia, and you were there for that game. It was an epic contest in this, this series that's become so important to the SEC. They've really been the preeminent matchup since 2017. Your thoughts on what you saw in Tuscaloosa?
At first you were thinking the game's going to be a blowout.
Yeah.
Alabama, the domination over Georgia through pretty much the whole first half. I know Georgia was able to score there late, but that game always delivers, man. It's incredible. What shocked me was, it had been one thing if Georgia had been just playing awful and guys busting assignments and coverages, and Bama was kind of fluking their way to a 30-7 lead. That wasn't the case. I mean, Bama wasn't doing anything crazy. Heck, the 2 trick plays they ran in the first half, that was probably 2 of the worst plays that they had. They had everything going, the run game, the pass game. They just looked physically better and fundamentally better. It looked like one team was elite and the other team was just good to average. The Carson Beck thing, to me, he showed more guts. Because we had people, at Innisfree in the chat coming up saying, oh, they need to bench him. They need to bench him. And then you look up and he's thrown for 400 yards. But on the Bama side, everybody's going to talk about the toughness, the mental toughness that it took for Georgia to come back. Well, if you're Alabama, it's one type of toughness to get that type of lead. It is a totally different type of toughness to blow that lead and then strike right back. So it was a heck of a game. These are 2 of the top 5 teams in the country. I think Alabama should be the number 1 team in the country. If Jalen Milroe plays like that, he's going to be very, very tough to stop. But Georgia, who hadn't showed the ability to hit explosive plays pretty much all year and through the first half, boy, they should have some confidence about hitting them now after that second half.
And then you got Ryan Williams, 17-year-old freshman doing senior-like things.
Yeah, the witch. That guy, and he's people that are comparing him to Julio. He's not like Julio. They're different type players, but he could have the same impact because he just does things as a 17-year-old that you don't see other guys really do. I tell you who he moves like with the ball. He moves like Tavon Austin, and he's bigger. That spin move was just, absolutely disgusting. But Jim Nagy put out a tweet that said, if Ryan Williams leaves after his junior year, he could be playing in the Senior Bowl as a 19-year-old. Just think about that for a second. You got guys like Cam Rising who are daggum near 30 years old, still in college, and Ryan Williams could be in the Senior Bowl as a 19-year-old.
Wow.
So Alabama, that they passed the smell test or the litmus test, but they sat in cover 1 man free the whole night, like they play a lot of. They're going to have to make some adjustments because Georgia shouldn't have been able to come back like that. And guys, I'm going to be honest, I thought the clock management in the fourth quarter by Kalen DeBoer wasn't very good.
Well, they weren't able to, he's talking about when they weren't able to run the clock out. They did not, they made 1 first down with about 4 minutes to go, and then they got denied.
They're snapping the ball with 20 seconds on the play clock.
They were snapping it early too. Yeah, that's right. There's definitely some things. The one thing I will say, and again, Milroe may have missed a few, reads in the second half, but I think he can continue to get better. I'm still stunned at how good he's become. I think he's the best weapon right now in the SEC as far as with his dual threat capabilities, because what I kept saying last year, Jake, was he wasn't a willing runner, and he wasn't. But, this coaching staff, and I think his growth last year helped as well. But the way this staff has handled him has helped him blossom, and he's just it's amazing how much he's improved, man. I think he's a better, college quarterback than Jalen Hurts was. And Jalen had a tremendous dual threat capability, because I never thought of Tua Tagovailoa as a dual threat. He was a pocket QB really that could move, but the guy is just a tremendous weapon. And I'm not going to say this yet, because that dude had probably maybe the best one season I've ever seen in college football as far as at Auburn, but people were comparing him to Cam Newton after Saturday.
Well, to me, I think he's the closest thing to Lamar Jackson that we've had.
Yeah, that's a great comparison.
I don't, some people said Jaden Daniels. I think Jaden Daniels, as crazy as this sounds, is just a different type of fast. And throwing the ball, that they're more comparable now this year. But even watching Jaden Daniels run away from guys in the NFL, he's just weirdly fat. It's incredible. It's like a deer. But when it comes to Jalen Milroe, the question coming in was, is he just an outfielder at quarterback? And what do I mean by that? Is he just a guy that can throw the long ball well? He can throw it well from center field to home, but he struggles from throwing it from short to first. The intermediate game was a question, and he answered that in spades. I thought his throwing ability in the short game and the intermediate game, especially in the middle of the field, was absolutely elite. And if he can do that, it's, there's not a lot of calls in the bag to stop this guy. But another thing, and I don't think enough people are talking about this. One of the things I talked about before the game was I just hope, and I think you saw this a little last year, that Jalen Milroe wasn't like, I'm going to prove to everybody that I'm a pocket passer.
Right.
That I can sit back here and just throw it. I don't have to run it. I'm a pure quarterback. I think he did a little bit of that last year. I can show you, I can go through all these reads and just throw the check down. I'm not just an athlete playing quarterback. Well, I think he's really understood that, hey, regardless of what I do, I've got to use all my skill set for us to be able to dominate and win a national championship. Look at what Jalen Hurts did. You have that type of success, you're going to get a shot in the league. So I think it's maturity not only as a thrower, but understanding who you are as a quarterback and accepting it.
No question. And Jake, I know it's kind of, looking ahead to next week a little bit, but, this is not an opportune time for Auburn to have to go on the road. They've struggled under Hugh Freeze there, and now you're going to get a very angry Georgia team in Athens.
Oh, yeah, no, they're in big trouble. It's and again, it's you don't go lick your wounds and figure out some things against Georgia. They're going to be happy to be back at home. It's a rivalry game. They understand they're still in the playoffs. Hugh Freeze got a tough assignment. Again, I go back to what I was saying about Peyton Thorne and being a leader. Like, you send this guy back out here, and again, he did some really good things against Oklahoma. But I had a fan say, Jake, how can you say that Peyton Thorne, is this or that after he played the best game of his life? And all I said was, exactly. He played the best game he did at Auburn, and he still blew it at the end and they lost. Think about that. So if you're Hugh Freeze, I don't know, like the words, you run out of words to say, like to motivate guys. You just got to hope that, that the culture that you're building is strong enough to withstand all this losing. And if it's, you're an Auburn fan, it's tough. You didn't expect Auburn to be this elite team this year, but you didn't expect them to be poorly coached in some areas. And you didn't expect a fifth-year quarterback to even regress to finding different ways to lose games. So it's a tall task, and I do not envy the position he's in.
All right, Jake, thanks. Good stuff.
And Jacob, before you go, my final question, though, what do we make of Ole Miss? Are they a fraud? I called them a fraud this morning.
Oh, man, what a bad loss. Maybe Lane stop talking about Hugh Freeze and worry about getting third downs against Kentucky. It's that game. If you'd have told me that Ole Miss lost to Kentucky, I would have thought that somehow this Kentucky offense found a way to expose Ole Miss's defense, and maybe Ole Miss's defense was fraudulent. That wasn't the case, and you got to give credit to Kentucky. But man, it was shocking to me because it wasn't like, Kentucky was overly dominant on offense. Their defensive line just whooped Ole Miss up front. So, yeah, if we're going to say that if you thought that Ole Miss could win a national championship like myself, it's hard not to say they aren't fraudulent, but it is one loss and they will get more opportunities. So I'm gonna let the jury stay out for a little bit longer before we give them a guilty verdict on the fraudulent front.
Jake Crane, 2 to 3:30 on the real via the Real Daily Wire, Crane and Company. He and David M. Cone, and of course Blaine Crane, will bring you all the conversation coming up. They had the ton this weekend. They read Innisfree. They had their reaction show on Sunday, and now they will have more reaction later on Monday afternoon. We always appreciate it, Jake. Thank you, sir.
Guys, it's always fun. I appreciate y'all having me.
All right, thanks. Let's get a break in. More of the good, the bad, the ugly from college football weekend coming up next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Sounds like we may have a new wreck at 53 in Burwell. That one's coming in as a no injury. Got a couple on 72 that are trying to clear. Had westbound at Moores Mill, also westbound at Ryland Pike. The one at Moores Mill did report with an injury, so maybe a few more minutes before it's completely clear. And apparently we still have some fire equipment on Blake Bottom north of Stringfield. Had a structure fire there earlier. Expert heart care backed by advanced technology. When you need cardiac care, you need the heart doctor. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialists on Bob Wallace Avenue. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
Mark and Henry McDaniel, attorneys at law, are proud alumni of Madison Academy, and Madison Academy is proud of them. They have served our community through their practice, through volunteerism and service on national, state, and local boards. They explain the complexity of critical court rulings on local media. Their successful practice has been built on integrity. Both are veterans of MA Athletics and proud sponsors of Mustang football. McDaniel and McDaniel, attorneys at law. No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by the lawyer.
I want to thank you. Thank you for making us your number one choice for sports talk in North Alabama.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
The heat is on.
Oh, I love it when Carmen comes back to bite you in the ass. Florida State sues the ACC because they don't want some teams in the league.
They probably don't want them anymore. The ACC is so damn bad.
One of them was SMU.
Oh.
SMU this weekend goes out and just trounces Florida State 42-16.
Man, I'm going to tell you what. We've had Gene Williams on the show a few times, warchant.com.
Yeah.
And Ira Schofel as well. Poor Ira had to go to Dallas and watch it. Gene had to do the reaction show where they take calls and break it all down. And Gene basically said, thanks a lot, Jimmy Sexton. If you hadn't gotten this huge contract, we could get rid of Mike Norvell at the end of this season. He would almost certainly be fired. But because of that $10 million a year contract, I mean, what a train wreck Florida State is right now. When Gene Williams, who is as sharp as a tack and knows Florida State inside and out, I call him the Rodney Orr of Tallahassee as far as the way he knows that Florida State program. When he says, and Scott, you can pull it up for me, Florida State's remaining schedule, but I want to say he said it was Charleston Southern, where our good friend, I want to say that's the school that I heard him mention, and Brandon Mush is there. When he says that's the only win left on the schedule.
Yeah, because it's Clemson next week.
And then he says this, and I quote, Clemson could win by 80.
It's Clemson next week, then Duke, then Miami, then North Carolina, Notre Dame, Charleston Southern, and then Florida.
He says they're going 2-10, and it's one of the worst collapses in college football history. And
think about how cheap, if that trend continues, think about how cheap the Florida State tickets could be for that game if Florida continues to go downhill like we think.
Billy, I love you, man, but you have to beat Gus. If you lose to Gus in the
Florida
swamp,
and UCF are this week.
If you lose that one, you're probably not going to make it to the press conference. All right, and then you better beat FSU at least. FSU is horrendous. I mean, they've never lost to Duke, Scott. Not on the football field, but, I think they're about to. I mean, this is just horrible. Horrible. I mean,
I just thought it was karma. You don't want the ACC to expand. You don't think SMU is ACC worthy.
Some
You
of the
tried
best
to keep
reaction
them
I
out.
heard is they tried to run a quarterback draw from the 3-yard line with DJ Uyunglele, and they said, "Why are you doing that? He runs a 7.9 40."
He can actually run faster than that. Not by much, but I could. All right. We have not had a chance to do it yet.
Oh, okay.
Bad drum roll, but we got to figure out something for this.
Right.
Each and every week, you do submit your SEC power rankings to the Houston Chronicle.
I got you. Yeah,
we have not had a chance to go over those yet, so without further delay,
right,
1 through 16, the Drew DeArmond SEC power rankings that you can see from the Houston Chronicle.
And it was so funny. Yeah, you're gonna laugh at me. We got to get some food conversation in here. My phone was dead. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, when am I going to get back on the grid?
Right.
My phone clicks on at 11:58, and then I realize I've still got time to open the Chick-fil-A app and get a free chicken sandwich. And I did. I was like, Drew's thinking about chicken sandwiches. Well, I did. I got a free chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A.
How did you get it so late?
Well, they had said at Alabama that you have until midnight. And I remembered it clicked in my head. They announced
Chick-fil-A is open till.
Well, no, I just downloaded it. Hell, we didn't. Ain't no dang Chick-fil-A open.
That's what I thought. Where in the hell are you getting a Chick-fil-A sandwich at midnight at?
If you in that alternate universe, then you better get the hell out of there because they're not. No, but Brenton Varnerman had just texted me. Hey, DD, just checking in. I'm like, I'm finally back on the grid. I'll have it right to you. Drum roll, as Scott said. Number 1, Alabama goes from 3-1.
Okay.
Or, well, 2-1, from 2-1. Actually, I had to add Alabama second. Let me correct myself. And then if Alabama had blown Georgia out like it looked like, I probably would have dropped Georgia as low as 5. But the way Georgia fought back and took it to the bitter end, like I said, I jumped Alabama from second to 1. So Alabama is number 1. Texas is number 2. They slopped through it against Mississippi State. Georgia is number 3. I just could not put them below Tennessee because I'm not sure how good Tennessee is. I got Tennessee 4, though, no question. And then Missouri 5. I could not put Ole Miss ahead of Missouri. Missouri's undefeated. I still am not sure how good Missouri is. And then LSU 7. Oklahoma 8, Texas A&M 9, South Carolina 10. Had to put them ahead of Kentucky since they dominated Kentucky. Arkansas 12. Yeah, I mean they won 31-6.
Kentucky going on the road and getting a win over Ole Miss. I can't help it because
I'm really not even sure how good Ole Miss is. I almost put Ole Miss below LSU, but then like I said, Oklahoma 8, Texas A&M 9, South Carolina 10, Kentucky 11, Arkansas 12, Vanderbilt 13, Auburn 14, Florida 15. And Mississippi State 16, though Mississippi State showed some fight. I mean, I could have dropped the Gators all the way to dead last, but I mean, look, again, head-to-head, Florida beat Mississippi State on the road. So
35-13 was the Texas-Mississippi State final.
Yeah, so I kept Mississippi State at the bottom. But we'll see if there's any more shifts this weekend. We hadn't really talked about it, but Texas A&M, it was an ugly game for the most part, but they beat Arkansas 21-17.
That one was tied at 14 at the half.
Yeah, and just it was really controlled despite the score being close throughout by Texas A&M.
All right, so Mississippi State still on the bottom.
Yeah, they're still on the bottom. And like I said, OU gets some brownie points for winning on the road, finding a way to win. LSU was impressive against a good South Alabama team, 42-10. And they're going to play Ole Miss in a couple weeks. So that's going to be a really interesting one to see if Ole Miss can stay in the race. If Ole Miss loses that game, then they definitely not going to the playoffs. So we'll see. But I just think that was a really damaging loss for the Rebels. It'll be really interesting because they've got a tough schedule coming up. Their schedule gets much more difficult for Lane, even though he's not playing Alabama, so he doesn't have to have PTSD from playing the Tide. But you know, I'm not a believer in Ole Miss right now.
Former James Clemens Jet Gio Lopez
played
was
well.
16 of 22, 171 yards and a touchdown in that loss to LSU. So,
yeah, and he was there. He also ran the ball effectively. So LSU did a good job against them, though. I thought it would be.
10.
I thought they might make it a little closer than that. I thought it might be a little bit of a track meet. I still had LSU winning the game, but again, Gio's had a good year.
10 carries, 33 yards
Yep.
For Gio Lopez. All right, let's get a break in. John Talty will help us relive the Alabama-Georgia moment here and the other side of the break.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Still got a wreck showing in Decatur at Sixton Point. Mallard had a report at 53 in Burwell. They're still showing 72 westbound at Ryland Pike. Everything else from earlier should be cleared out of the way. Watch for fire equipment on Blake Bottom north of Stringfield. They've been working that one most of the morning. Officers, construction workers, and first responders put their lives on the line every time they step on the roadway. You can make it safer for them. Slow down or move over. It's the law. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
Rich Eisen here from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. Join us all season long as we get you ready for primetime NFL action every Monday night. Along with Kevin Harlan, Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner, and the entire Westwood One team will take you inside the locker rooms and the stadiums for exclusive previews and all the play-by-play action. Every week on Monday Night Football.
Right here on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
By now, you know about Eagle Masonry and Insulation, and maybe you know that Eagle also does landscaping and dirt work. But how about after paint work? Shower doors, shelving, and mirrors, all taken care of by Eagle, the same Eagle that takes care of all your masonry, insulation, and landscaping needs. Eagle brings the same level of expertise to all these disciplines, and they're ready to provide you with a free quote. The website is the same, insulatewitheagle.com, as is the phone number, 256-755-1556. Give them a call and see what Eagle can do for you. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money.
Tom Luganville here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
You don't have to go somewhere else just so you can go somewhere new. Plan your next vacation with Huntsville International Airport and Breeze Airways. Enjoy friendly, convenient, nonstop travel to some of the most exciting destinations in the U.S., including the home of 12 world-famous theme parks, Orlando, Florida. With flights starting as low as just $49, Breeze has got you covered with easy, breezy, nonstop flights to Orlando. Make all their dreams come true. Book nonstop to Orlando now at flybreeze.com.
Hey, I'm on vacation every single day.
No, we not. Nope. The AP poll is out, by the way. Alabama does move up to number one. And according to the Associated Press or College Poll Archive, Kalen DeBoer is the first coach not named Nick Saban to lead Alabama to a number one ranking since Gene Stallings won the 1992 national title.
Crazy.
Let that sink in just a moment.
And our next guest, he's one of my favorite guys. He and Armin Katane, we just had Armin on, his colleague.
Yes, we did.
And that was a couple of weeks ago as this book was hitting the stands. It's doing very, very well. John is now with CBS Sports and 24/7 as a national college football reporter. But he's also been a very successful author. He and Armin Katane in lockstep wrote this book, and you must it's for those that are going to start buying Christmas presents very soon. If you have a college football fan in your family, you need to pick it up. It's called The Price, and as they say, it's what it takes to win in college football's era of chaos, and the chaos is NIL. But it's a very, very good read. It's about the inside and what the temperature is in college football. And we're going to talk to John about that. And of course, he was in Tuscaloosa for this titanic clash with Alabama and Georgia. And we're going to he did two outstanding pieces, one on Ryan Williams and then another on Kalen DeBoer. And he's with us this morning on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. John, good morning.
Drew, good to talk to you again.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you for coming on with us. We really appreciate your time. I know you're a busy guy. But let's just go get right to it. We'll talk about you and Armand's work here in a minute. But what an atmosphere in Tuscaloosa. And you've covered a lot of big games in your career. You've been a part of it. But it was as electric an atmosphere as I've ever been in. We talked about it throughout this show. But your thoughts on what you saw on Saturday, and then the transcendent talent of Ryan Williams. I mean, I've been keeping up with him for 2+ years, and this is the stunning thing. And I told a lot of people this after the game. The craziest part about Ryan Williams is, I know his coach, Jeff Kelly, his high school coach, he's only been playing wide receiver a little over 2 years full time because he was a quarterback in 9th grade. This kid is just special.
Yeah, it was funny. I was trying to think after the game what other atmosphere I could really even put at that same level. You've been doing it a lot longer than I have, but I've been, in covering Alabama football games for at least the last decade plus. And I mean, if it's not number one, it's in the top 2 or 3 that I could think of. I mean, it was loud all night. And just especially that scene at the end from, going to pretty much all quiet to just absolute roars after Ryan scored was as loud as I think I've heard Brian Denny in a long time. And, Ryan is just a really good kid, first off, but just what he's able to do at this stage of how young he is and how, inexperienced he is, like you mentioned, is just absurd. I mean, that play, I've probably rewatched it 30 times at this point, and it doesn't get less impressive every time I watch it. I mean, just the body control he has, the way he's able to, spin and then slow down and then speed up is just unbelievable for a 17-year-old to do that. And, at CBS, we've talked a lot this year already about, how good Jeremiah Smith is, along with Ryan. And it's kind of wild to think that you could make a real argument that the 2 best wide receivers in college football right now are both true freshmen. We've had some unbelievable wide receivers come through in recent years, especially a lot through Alabama. But, Ryan looks like he could be, maybe the best of them all, which is extremely high praise. It's very early on. But when you're seeing him do what he's doing this early on, and again, just remembering that he hasn't been playing the position that long, he's only 17, just imagining what he could be doing 2-3 years from now is it's truly incomprehensible right now.
Yeah, and the game itself early on did not look like it was going to live up to what we thought it would be, but it closed that way. Another remarkable game in the series, and yet still leaves Kirby Smart trying to figure out the mystery that is Alabama.
Yeah, of course he got asked about that after the game, his 1-6 record. It's been a challenge for him. They've come close, and I think that's, to your point, I think the first half was shocking in a lot of ways. Like, I think what it ended up being is what we expected it to be, this kind of 2 teams throwing haymakers at each other coming down to the end. Like, that's what I think we all expected. For Alabama to get up 28-0, I certainly didn't see that coming. And, speaks to the game plan that I thought Alabama was able to put together. I think the first half is the best we've ever seen Jalen Milroe. I mean, he was just able to do everything, whether it was running, whether it was, that touchdown pass to Jam Miller was right on the money, as good of a throw as he's going to make. And, Kirby and Georgia, they were just reeling. Like, they just couldn't figure it out. You give him credit. They clearly made adjustments. Carson Beck was much better in the second half than he was in the first half. And, I think that's a team that, there are moments you're watching them like, man, is this a 3 or 4 loss Georgia team? Like, what is happening here? And then by the end, you're like, all right, this is a team that's going to be competitive. They're going to still be in the mix until the very end. And it's a credit to Kirby that, they made it the game that they did. But, Kirby's got some Alabama demons that maybe he thought were going to go away with Nick Saban, but they clearly did not, even with the new coach and Kalen DeBoer.
Well, this is a perfect segue because you wrote about what does this mean though for Kalen DeBoer? He's now 13-2 against ranked opponents, and you wrote in your piece, I know, what his record is against other elite head coaches right now.
Yeah, he's 6-0. He's beaten Steve Sarkisian twice. He's beaten Dan Lanning 3 times, and then of course he just beat Kirby Smart. He's beaten Lincoln Riley. He's the guys that we think of at the top of the game right now. He's beaten them all in the last year or 2 years. And I think, I think in CBS this year, we had him in, he was top 10 or so as a coach, but I think right now you can make an argument that he is number one, especially with, Nick Saban and Jim Harbaugh both being out of the sport. I mean, what he's done the last few years at Washington was incredible. He's 24-1 in his last 25 games. That's pretty good. And I think that, you guys I'm sure talked about all offseason. Like, this was the game that we all wanted to see how he would handle, right? We knew he was an incredible coach, but how do you handle a Georgia team that a lot of people picked, including Nick Saban, to be in the SEC championship game, to be a national championship contender? Like, this was the one that you wanted to figure out how would he do, and he more than handled the test. And he beat Kirby Smart. Alabama looked unbelievable for stretches of that game, and now they're the number one team in the country in at least one poll. I mean, that is as good as you could imagine from the handoff from Saban to DeBoer. So, I think Alabama fans have to be thrilled by what they saw Saturday. And if you're a fan of any other team in the SEC, you have to be demoralized by what you saw Saturday. You just we can't even get 1 year where we can catch these guys a little bit. Like, we're just going straight back to them being number one. Like, think about what you got to be as an Auburn fan right now, watching Hugh Freeze, who got hired because he could beat Nick Saban, and what they're going through. And then you see what Kalen DeBoer is doing in Tuscaloosa. That's got to be a tough Monday for a lot of those guys.
Well, and then too, now you get the expanded 12-team playoff, and instantly you sit there and say, well, this might not be the last we see of Alabama and Georgia this year. We could potentially see a couple more matchups between the two.
Yeah, for sure. There's the possibility that a team could play each other 3 times. In this case, they've already played in the regular season. They could play in the SEC championship, and then they could play in the playoff. Now, I don't know how often that's going to happen, but it's certainly capable of happening.
Right.
And, I think watching that game, certainly as just a fan of college football, I wouldn't mind seeing them play again, whether that's SEC or playoff. These are two teams that clearly are well coached, have a lot of talent. I do think, as is typically the case, being in Tuscaloosa for an incredible environment, that's an edge to Alabama. If that game is played neutral site or at Georgia, does it flip a little bit at the end? Maybe, who knows? So that, I think, is exciting if they were to match up again. And let's be clear here too, like, Alabama still has tough games to play in the future. They're number one right now. We're talking about how incredible they are. That's all positive. But that game at Tennessee in a couple of weeks, at Tennessee with Nico and the way that defense is playing, that's going to be a massive challenge for Alabama. And I even at this moment, I might still give the edge to Tennessee a little bit. There's still big challenges down the line. But, like you said, the positive, I think, is with a 12-team playoff, you can lose a game and still make the playoff. You can maybe even lose 2 games and still make the playoff. So that margin gets a little thinner.
And we've got to ask you too, because it piggybacks off of what you and Armin wrote about. And as we said, we introduced you, it's called The Price, what it takes to win in college football's era of chaos. The Matt Sluka situation just played right off to what you guys have been writing about and letting the sports world know what's going on behind the scenes. What an unbelievable scene last week that was. A team that's unbeaten in the group of 5 with a chance at a college football playoff berth, and you see the starting quarterback checking out because of NIL.
Yeah, this has been building for a while. And, we write in the book a couple of different scenes, but, one of them is about, Taulia Tagovailoa, the younger brother of Tua, at Maryland. And he wasn't the only one. There are other players that did too. But, they asked Mike Locksley, now the Maryland head coach, the former Alabama offensive coordinator, for $50,000 to play in a bowl game. And, that's what coaches are going through. And we wrote about, Quinshon Judkins at Ole Miss and what those negotiations were like. And they played out during the season too. And, this is just kind of the world that we live in. And it puts coaches in a tough spot. Of course, there's a sliding scale. Some are more okay with it than others. But, I think a lot of them have generally gotten their, kind of their heads around the idea that, guys should get paid and be paid fairly. But, a lot of them go back to the NFL model, which is what we're getting closer and closer to. And these are things that just don't play out in the NFL. Now, there could be holdouts, but you still have the contract. And under that contract, you can be fined if you don't show up. You can't just quit during the middle of the season. And so that's what I think a lot of these guys, they just want a little bit more control over the situation. They want to have contracts. It's a deep source of frustration for guys that, we're coming up here in a couple months where, early signing and then also, transfer portal will all be playing out during championship week and, for the playoff run. Like, I think Lane Kiffin's made this point a few times. Like, we would never imagine in the NFL that free agency would be happening at the same time as the playoffs, right? But that's how college sports is. So there's just all these unique factors to college sports that make it really challenging for coaches. And the Saluka situation is one that, has been brewing for a long time, and it's not going to be the last. There's going to be more of those kind of situations popping up if they're not able to get to a place where they can have, guys under contract and able to, have them locked in for maybe multi-year deals where they can't just quit 4 games into the season.
Well, and then John too, I know you're very connected in the coaching world with this expanded playoff and the transfer portal. I think it's going to make it even more difficult to hire coaches. We know the high profile situation going on with Florida and Billy Napier, but you could lose your entire roster. But how are you going to hire a standing head coach from another high profile school that could potentially be on a playoff run?
Yeah, it's funny. It's like Matt Zenitz and I have written about that a little bit. We were supposed to have another story this week. We'll see if we end up doing it. But the example has been Lane Kiffin, and watching that game on Saturday, it's like maybe Florida won't have to wait for Lane Kiffin. He might just be there waiting for him if they keep losing a couple more games here. But yeah, I mean that's going to be the major question, and it's I think the one that it might be the most impactful for are this is going to be a Group of 5 team in the playoffs. So. Right now, there's a lot of buzz around, Barry Odom and UNLV. And, Barry did a pretty good job at Missouri. There's some people that thought that he got fired maybe before he should have, was a really good defensive coordinator at Arkansas. Like, people like Barry Odom. And I think that he could be in the mix, not for Florida, but for other jobs that, could, in theory, come open, Baylor, Arkansas, places like that. But if Barry has UNLV in the playoffs, he can't leave. And, he's, I think, a really good candidate. People really like him. But are you going to wait until potentially, late December for Barry Odom? I don't know that you can. And so it's going to put programs in very difficult spots. You have to really love the guy and be, absolute that this is the one that I have to be willing to wait. And I think more often than not, programs are not going to wait for people that are in the playoffs just because of, like you mentioned, the timeline. You just lose out on so much. And, we're seeing this play out with Hugh Freeze. Like, you don't get long runways anymore. Like, programs and their fan bases, they expect within a year or two, really by year 2, they want to see progress. So if you're having to punt completely on that first year of transfer portal and early signing period, that just puts you behind the 8 ball, especially if you're not walking into a situation where the roster is very good. And, whether that's Lane in Florida or somebody else, like, that's a situation that's going to need a big overhaul. And if they have to wait for a guy in the playoff, it's going to be really challenging for that person walking in.
Really is. Great stuff, John. And again, let people know how to get the book. It's a must read, especially for the climate in today's college football and what could end up being another crazy bowl season, coaching carousel. But let everybody know how to get that. And again, well done job. Kudos to you and Armin Katayan.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys saying that. Yeah, it's called The Price. You can buy it anywhere you buy books. Some people, it's easy maybe just do Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, but local bookstores have it too. I think you hit it perfectly, Drew, earlier. It's going to be a great Christmas gift for people. And it's just been, a great look at just kind of how we got to this moment in college football, and explains, part how it impacted Nick Saban and Jim Harbaugh and Mike Locksley. And, I think it's entertaining and informative read for a lot of people. So we've really enjoyed all the feedback on it. And I think as the season goes on, it'll just look even more and more prescient. So appreciate you guys having me on, and looking forward to talking to you guys again sometime soon.
Yes, sir.
Thanks,
Thank
John.
you, John. John Talty there. Good
Appreciate
stuff.
you.
Yeah, I got my copy of my book at home.
Yeah,
we
got that copy sitting on my coffee table there.
Yep. All right, let's get a break in. Your tomorrow's headlines will wrap us up next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Got a wreck indicator at Sixton Point Mallard that may still be trying to clear. Had a reportable wreck at 53 in Burwell. I haven't heard an update on that one. Still may be trying to clear that one 72 westbound at Ryland Pike. Had 172 in Moore's Mill that had an injury, but they're showing it is clear now. With more than 30 years experience, D&L Refrigeration can save you money on those heating and air conditioning repairs. 256-652-1207. State license 08091. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
Embark on a flavorful journey at the Brewers Cooperative, located within the vibrant community hub of Stovehouse in Huntsville. Their brewery isn't just about crafting exceptional beers. It's a destination where culinary delights and local brews harmonize. Whether you're seeking a laid-back lunch or a lively dinner with friends, their diverse menu has something to please every palate. And with a commitment to quality and a passion for innovation, they invite you to savor the unique flavor of Huntsville's craft beer scene at the Brewers Cooperative.
It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Major League Baseball today, big time Major League Baseball.
It matters. It's the only games being played.
The Atlanta Braves, New York
Mets,
Mets going to play 2.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how it works.
Yep.
If the Braves and Mets split, they are in the playoffs. Diamondbacks gone.
Both of them.
If
Yep.
the Braves or Mets win both, then the winner of both and the Diamondbacks are in.
So the Diamondbacks praying for a sweep.
Yep. And
from
then
somebody.
if the Braves win both, then they're in. If the Mets win both, then they're in. If they split, then the Braves and the Mets are in.
Well, you know what I want? I want a sweep, and I want the Mets out.
All right, but you can listen to all games on WZZN Talk Radio today. Find it, download the app, and you can listen to both games there. Let's get out to the phone lines. Pat in Birmingham is with us. Good morning, Pat.
Morning, Pat.
Hey, Drew, what's up? This is Robert. How you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, Robert?
Hey, doing well. Who was your previous guest said if Alabama loses 2 games, they might be in? Hell yeah, they're going to be in if they lose 2 games. If they lose Tennessee and LSU, they're going to be in. But hey, how did I hadn't had a chance to watch the game again. I got to watch some of it with McElroy, but how'd the offensive line look? And they didn't blitz as much. I know they blitzed some. What was their blitz rate? Do you know?
I mean, Georgia blitzed a little bit, but and especially early. But
Right.
Milroe was able to make them pay. Made one significant play in the first half. Made a guy miss, and then ran the football inside the 10-yard line. And I thought Kirby would come out and test them a little bit because they had trouble with the blitz against South Florida. But I thought
And Michigan.
But if you look at the Pro Football Focus grades, every one of the starting 5, the O-line graded out really well. They protected Milroe. They kept him clean. And again, I thought Alabama did a better job of pressuring Beck than Georgia did and vice versa. But again, Mikael Williams played the majority of the game, was limping around, wasn't 100%. But I give Alabama's offensive line credit. I mean, I know everybody's talking about the third quarter struggles, but a lot of that was Georgia possessing the football and staying on the field. But I thought Alabama's offensive line played exceptionally well considering who they were playing against.
Caden Proctor had an 83 pass block grade on Saturday. Yeah. Caden Proctor alone had 41 pass block snaps and only 1 pressure allowed.
That's awesome. What do you think? I mean, I've been a critic. I mean, I've been hard on Milroe about not reading, not doing his reads, sitting in the pocket too long, not moving. What's happened in the last 13 days? I mean, even in Wisconsin, he's played a lot better. But are the play calls that much different?
Well, I mean, it's a different system. I think he's getting more and more comfortable with Kalen DeBoer, the way they're coaching him, and Nick Sheridan. There's a different style of coaching. It's more cerebral. It's not fire and brimstone. I think it's more, what are you seeing? What are you to helping him understand? And also convincing him through their play calling and how they're handling things, and through his maturity, because he's actually he's becoming more and more comfortable as QB1 at Alabama, understanding that you are Michael Vick, that you are Lamar Jackson, that you have to use your dynamic athleticism. That you heard Kirby after the game. Look, we can't double Ryan Williams. We have to, give attention to Jalen Milroe because he will kill you with his legs.
It's just fun. I mean, I've been on it, man. You like a little cerebral from your quarterback when it's supposed to run, and he wasn't doing those two things consistently last year. And he really didn't do it against South Florida.
Yes, sir.
It's kind of light. It's just come on with him in the last 12 days. So it's fun to watch. We'll see where this goes this year. And I listen to y'all every morning down here in Birmingham. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Robert.
Thanks, Robert. Yeah, Robert in Birmingham.
There
we go. Thanks for the listen. All right. Sorry, David. We are out of time.
Call back for the morning blitz, man.
We tried to get everything in. We did.
Yeah, we did. Spencer Schleimbach on the mound for the Braves in game 1. If necessary, they'll pitch Chris Sale in game 2. But if the Braves win, I think they're going to hold him out for the wild card.
All right. We'll be back.
Go Braves. Screw the Mutts.
Back at it tomorrow morning.
WCCN Talk Radio is where you can listen.
7 o'clock tomorrow morning, folks. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone.